The shocking allegations levelled at Sean Diddy Combs have burst the floodgates on salacious claims about an industry many people believe harboured a monster. Understandably, the internet's ablaze with claims about these events and whether other powerful figures were involved too. Well, last week, I interviewed Jaguar Wright, a singer-songwriter who's made claims about Diddy for years. Those claims had already received a lot of attention in the media across many platforms for many years. And that's the thing about platforms. The reality of the modern world is that pretty much everyone has a platform as long as there's something to say that other people want to hear. That's why we invited her on to be interviewed. The people making these claims have an audience with or without shows like mine. Well, Jaguar Wright unexpectedly made several serious allegations about Jay-Z and Beyoncé during that interview. As I said in the moment, they were not present to respond or defend themselves. But now they have. Their lawyers contacted us to say that those claims were totally false and have no basis in fact. And we've therefore complied with the legal request to cut them from the original interview. Editing interviews is not something we do lightly at a show called Uncensored. But, like the proverbial cries of fire in a crowded theatre, there are legal limits on us too.
Wow. That's interesting.
So just to recap, for those of you who did not see the Piers Morgan Jaguar Wright conversation, and if you don't know who Jaguar Wright is, she's been on the industry's neck for a long time. She talks about a lot of trafficking, non-consensual. We're on these YouTube streets, so I'm like, grape. She talks a lot about grape, forced drugging, things like that. And unlike most of these people who do it subliminally, she mentions names. She says names. And I find it ironic that she's never been sued, because I looked that up today. I tried to find any lawsuit I could with her stage name or her real name, and I've had nothing. And she said on multiple occasions, I have receipts, and if I'm lying, sue me. But going back to what she was originally said on Piers Morgan to get all this jumped off, she went at Puffy, she went at Epstein, and she's been saying for the last couple of weeks that Jay-Z and Beyoncé are next. She said that they've got some things that they've been doing that that's about to come to light, basically. And that's what essentially Piers Morgan apologized for. So I'm assuming somebody on their team hit him with a cease and desist, which is really weird because Piers rarely censors himself. That's why a lot of people like going there to talk to him.
Yeah,
but that's essentially that's the name of the show, exactly. And that's the context of it. But Jag's never been sued. And I'll tell you another thing, and then I'll give it back to you. I always talk about the big four. You can never go after the big four. And for those of you who are wondering who the big four is, it is the LGBT, women, our people of Jewish faith, in China. I found that if you go after those four groups of people and you want to be a celebrity, essentially you're sacrificing a bag. But Jag at some point has had smoke with all of those groups for different reasons. But taking it back to the Jay-Z and Beyoncé, she threw out some wild accusations about them with trafficking and forcing people to do things that they didn't want to do. She also mentioned in a previous interview, I'm gonna add this before I give it to you, Kimberly Thompson. If you Google that name and look at her relationship with Beyonce and why there's restraining orders involved, you're going to find some very disturbing accusations coming from Kimberly regarding Beyonce.
Wow. So, anything we say about this is all alleged, but is there a chance this could be true?
I don't know, man. I'm not in those rooms. I do know people who have worked security for certain celebrities, and they definitely say there's some wild things going on. I can never get names, but I don't press too hard because it's I don't know, it's just wild. But the conversation is always, you'd be surprised who's doing what. I done seen some stuff you don't want to see.
Yeah.
But again, I go back to my point that Jag has never been sued.
That's very good
she's
point.
been doing this for years, so I don't know what to make of it. I have friends who want to get into this industry, and I just tell them, just keep your morality and your integrity.
Just say keep your booty hole tight,
like Cat Williams said. And that's another thing. She ain't saying nothing different from what Cat been saying. I don't think Cat's ever been sued either. Not for this anyway.
No, it's interesting to see Jaguar Wright because I really wasn't familiar with her. I did see pieces of the interview that led up to the apology and, cutting the video. But it's weird that because Pierce, he's in the UK, right?
Yeah.
How did the lawyers force their hand to cut that video?
I would imagine that they have attorneys in just about every country that they do business in.
Man, talk about
and they know the laws. Look, anytime you try to silence somebody and not contest what they're saying, it looks like you're guilty. If I could throw a subliminal shot, I could argue that's the same thing Megan Stallion did to Tory Lanez. But anytime you try to silence somebody where they can't speak about a certain subject that they clearly were around for, it looks like you did something wrong and you're trying to cover it up. That's my opinion. But I'm not too vested in celebrities because I think people worship them enough as is. I appreciate good music or a good movie if I see it, but that's as far as I'm willing to take it. I'm not attached to any of them.
Yeah, and just to have a quick update for the folks out there that haven't been following it, Diddy just had the trial just been set, and he was denied bail for the third time.
Oh, third time. Okay.
Yeah, third time. And so again, you got Diddy. I hope it's televised because, or at least it's on the internet or whatever, because that'll definitely be a conversation. I mean, a lot of content creators are going to eat off of that. But pause. But you're going to see a lot of people really discussing this whole Diddy thing, and people seeing that, hey, you go to Hollywood, you get in these circles. And full disclosure, I think for the people involved, I think they're all consenting adults, and now they're trying to get a bag off of this. And Diddy, yeah, definitely, it appears that he's is a dirtball. I saw like there was a a minor conversation come up in an article that's going to be coming to light in the trial, which is like, man, this is he ain't getting out. He ain't never going to get out. And especially if you're dealing with younger individuals, you definitely shouldn't be able to get out anyways. So
at the very least, we saw the Cassie video. I don't know what his defense is for any of this. I'm sure he has a legal team. I'm curious to see what the defense of all of this is going to be. I know allegedly she hit him while he was in the shower and he kind of just got pissed and ran out and did what he did. But it's not what can be proven. We have the video footage. And I judge, I'm a land after this. Yeah. I judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. And like I said previously, I've never heard a former Bad Boy artist say that they were compensated fairly or that they were treated fairly. So that's essentially all that I can go off of when it comes to stuff like this.
Yeah, with that whole video thing, I know they're trying to get the video thrown out, which if you're saying it applies to the SA allegations, then why would that video need to be submitted? And you got to remember, this is the same state that prosecuted Harvey. Was it Harvey Weinstein? Is his name?
Yeah.
And he got his conviction thrown out because they mishandled the case. So you got to remember that. And also, Trump, he was charged under the Adult Survivors Act, which is the same. Which pretty much was the which started this whole thing with Diddy and other people. But that case, I know it's been a verdict has already been submitted, but Trump is currently appealing it. That case might be getting thrown out. So there is a chance that this, if they bungle the case, they could get this case could get thrown out as well too. So that's something that I know the world will want to see, or people want to see what happens. But if they mess this case up, this is going to be another, black eye for the DA up there, though. So I guess
this is all happening in New York, right?
Yeah,
they fumbled cases before, so it's very possible that this might get fumbled too.
Yeah, the only person it seems like the only person can get charged with anything is Cuban Gooding Jr. and Michael, or not Michael, but Kang Conqueror. What's that dude? Jonathan Majors. Yeah, Jonathan Majors. There's apparently only two people that can get charged for these types of, even though his was an SA situation, but there's only two people that were charged by the DA or made example by the DA. So
That man was running for his life from that white girl. He still got caught up. That's
Yeah,
wild.
I wish we had time to really discuss that, because that's a very interesting case, and most of you men out there, you need to be looking into that case. I know it's easy to say Jonathan Majors was just being dumb. He should have picked right. Blah blah blah. No, that's not even what happened. Like, no matter what you think happened, it comes down to what the DA did in order to make that case happen, including paying the witness or the victim to fly from Europe to back to the New York when the crime took place, because she wasn't going to come back. But when the DA wants to make an example out of you, they'll incentivize the victims. And I think something did happen with her, but this was the same thing that she put herself in a bad situation by attacking Jonathan Majors, and there's really nothing he could have done other than what he did was just trying to run away. But unfortunately, that's what they got him on, and he lost a bag over it. So definitely look into that Jonathan Majors case. Nate the lawyer is a great content creator. He had a great breakdown on it. So definitely watch the video that the lawyer put out there, and he'll go through piece by piece why this case shouldn't have ever been brought up. But unfortunately, Jonathan Majors had to pay the price.
Sounds like we want a little bit of a pivot, so let me stay here on that pivot real quick. Since we're telling young men to look into the Jonathan Majors case, I would also throw two other cases out there for you to look at: Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
Yes.
And then I would also advise you to look into the Travis Hunter case from about a year ago, because that was a case where there was clearly footage on video of his woman abusing him, and there's a lot of the layers there. And I say all that to say, as men, we control access to relationships and marriages, but we need to start doing a better job of vetting and checking things off before we take those steps. Absolutely, we do.
Yeah, and throw a fourth one in there, that football player, Rudolph.
I meant to, his last name is Rudolph. It's Travis Rudolph. I said
Travis Rudolph. Well,
Travis Rudolph.
So was she abusing him?
There's ring footage. He did call her. He called her a B when they were arguing. But there's footage of her beating him on the back of the head after he said that. It was used in court. So I watched the entire lead attorney. Shout outs to the lead, because he reviewed this. And this case was important for me because I own guns. I'm a Second Amendment guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to see how it would go, and it went exactly how it should have went. The only mistake he made, do we want to pivot and talk about this, or we want to?
Yeah, we got a little bit of time.
The only mistake that he made, they had their argument. She told her cousins and her brother to go over there and air the house out. We all know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
They came over and knocked and kicked on his door. Conflict started. He told them he had a gun. They fled. The problem was his brother, Travis Rudolph's brother, not Hunter. Travis Hunter is the guy from Colorado who's probably going to win the Heisman. Travis Rudolph's brother went and chased those guys after they were leaving. And that's where it got complicated. Because obviously, if your brother went to go fight, you're going to go make sure he's okay. Travis went. Travis claimed that when they were walking up on the gentleman who came to his house, they saw guns pointed at them. So Travis pulled his gun out and started shooting. Mm-hmm. And hit and killed one of them. And that's what the case was about. But I say all that to say the root cause and what we need to do a better job of doing is vetting who we choose to be in relationships with. And I subscribe to the theory that the best way to see a woman in her true element is when she's angry, when the world tells her no, and when she can't get her way. If you can see how she reacts in those three scenarios, I think you could do a pretty good character assessment of what type of woman that you're getting. There's other things you should check too, but that's just a starting point.
I would say when she's drunk too.
Yeah, sometimes being drunk brings out who they truly are. But I could argue that if she's constantly drunk all the time, that might be a red flag too.
Yeah, and the crazy thing with Rudolph is that the woman that he was dealing with, she was married. It's like
she was married and mad that he was messing with somebody else.
Yeah, and it's like, and I know some men that if that's your thing, that's your thing. But y'all, I mean, she lost her brother. She's not going to jail. I would say she should go to jail. But she lost her brother in that, and Travis got his, I think he was staying with his mom or rehabbing with his mom because I know he was trying to get healthy or he had been injured or something. But yeah, he, was this all worth it? No, and she wasn't even that good looking. I don't know what the woman that has to look like, but I still haven't seen a woman worth throwing your life away or putting your life in danger.
That's another takeaway from this, and we got to call this like we see it. Some of these women will send you to war for a stupid reason, and it might be a war that you won't return from. Like she literally sent her brother and her cousins over there to delete him because he called her a B and he was messing with another woman.
Yeah.
You got, and as men, we got to do a better job of that too, checking that behavior. I have some females in my family that I know that they wouldn't take advantage of this, but if they called me and said something bad happened to them, I would believe them with no hesitation. But there's accountability that comes with something like that. I have to trust that you're not going to call me or any of my other cousins or whatever over a very stupid reason. And a lot of these women will send you off to war for a dumb reason.
Yeah, death. They call it death by simp. Doesn't mean you're the simp, but if so you see something going down, something going on, you can end up in the police car or in a casket, unfortunately.
Man, let me tell this story real quick since we here. And this was a lesson that I had to learn. My sophomore year in college, back in my hometown, I was walking to my car from class, and I walked past what is now, it was always called Memorial Park. There was a couple who was fighting, man and a woman. The man proceeded to call the woman out of her name, and he kind of pushed her down to the ground and was kind of slapping her up a little bit. I go over there to intervene. They both jumped me and both started swinging at me and telling me to mind my business. And ever since that day, I don't get involved in other people's disputes. I'll call the police if it needs to be called, and I'll tell them like, "Hey, just so you know, I called the police. So I suggest y'all chill out." But nowadays, you can't trust people not to be crazy, and I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
If it's somebody I don't know, I'm definitely not doing that again.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And prisons and cemeteries are filled with men that did the same exact thing that you were doing, and trying to help, trying to be a good Samaritan, and it didn't go that way.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, all right, we are going to get to the last topic. So we start with Kamala, and we're going to end with Kamala.